Hello, I'm back. Thank you for joining me. I'm Leticia Remauro, and you have landed on Let's Talk News. Today is October 26, 2025, and NBC is the most wicked and disastrous news station there is. Thanks for joining me tonight. I am back after an illness, unfortunately. I had a severe kidney infection that took me down for the last, well, it was 7 days almost. Monday it started being painful, and I wound up in the hospital. But I'm back here now, and thankfully all is well. So I'm sorry that we couldn't talk about a lot of the things that was going on last week, but we can catch up tonight, and there's plenty to talk about. Although our focus tonight is going to be about the White House ballroom and the Democrats losing their ever-loving mind about it. Talk about craziness. Well, let's see. My mother's here. Hello, Mama. Everybody give some prayers to Mom because she hasn't been feeling great lately either. And Francine is with us. Hi, Francine. Thanks for joining us. So I'm sure you all have heard and read about, well, first off, before we get to the White House, let's talk about what's going on right now in New York and Virginia, in New Jersey. Early voting has already started in New York. I don't know if any of you all have gone out to vote. Remember, Republicans, don't wait till the last minute, especially in blue states, because it just seems that on election day, so many things happen and machines break down and disastrous situations occur where Republicans don't actually get to cast their vote the way it's supposed to be cast. So forget that old, oh, no, I'm waiting till election day. No. Republicans must get out early. We have to beat the Democrats at their own game. Good evening, Kim Salvo. Big Rotten Apple. Yes, thank you so much. AOC screaming at New York is at a Mom Donnie rally. Yeah, it's a shame. Hello, Ramon. Good to have you with us. Hello, Andrew. I'm so glad you're here. Good, Ramon. I'm glad that you voted early. Hi, Michael Cox. I haven't seen you in a dog's age or a cat's age. Good to have you with us, and thank you for prayers for Mom. She's got just feeling under the weather, and she refuses to go to the doctor. So you all encourage her to let me take her to the doctor, because God knows that's how I got better. The pain was ridiculous. I thought I was dying. I could not imagine what was going on. I don't know if anybody's ever had a kidney stone or infection. Hi, Colleen. How are you? But I've had now 2 children and a miscarriage. And I will tell you something. I will have a kid any day rather than have a kidney infection, because it just doesn't stop the pain, and it feels like it's breaking your body in two. Really, it was not fun at all. So I believe you go, you see what's going on. First, I thought it was my back, because I've had this issue happen a couple of times and take me down. So I always thought it was my back. And then I realized, no, it's something else. It's an organ. And I went to the emergency room, and sure enough, severe kidney infection. Yes, thank you. Thank you, Francine. If only she would, I always listen to her, but now she has to listen to me. So anyway, let's get back to New York. I saw Joe Borelli on Fox, and he was talking about not throwing your vote away for Sliwa. I thought that was interesting. I understood where he was coming from, because no matter what poll, where you're going, no matter how you cut it, Sliwa is just not gaining any ground. As a matter of fact, he's losing ground. Her kidney stones are the worst. Several friends had them this year. Yeah, it was bad. It was bad. There were times that I was begging, just take me, knock me out, do something. Poor Bob, he couldn't do anything about it. And, men, they want to fix all the problems. But anyway, he took very good care of me, and here we are. So, so Joe Borelli was talking about that. And I had said that some time ago, that if we didn't see Sliwa gaining votes, by the first debate. And if he didn't gain more votes than, if Mamdani didn't start going down and Sliwa didn't start going up, that we were going to have a problem. And that problem was likely that Democrats wouldn't vote for a Republican. They'd vote for a Democrat they didn't like, but not a Republican. And I think that's what we have at this point in time. I know that when they remove Cuomo from the race, that Sliwa goes up to about 41%. But that's still not enough to beat Mamdani. How about Moran campaigning with the Democrat BP candidate? Who's Moran? Oh, Frank Morano? Oh. If that's so, then I'm going to say that's probably a personal situation going on, because Vito and Frank, Frank Morano ran against Vito's son. Well, Frank Morano was in the race, and then the current borough president tried to pull a fast one like he did in the borough president's race and put his son in. Hello, Gloria. And then when Frank beat his son fair and square, Vito went on a tear, an absolute tear, threatening people and taking people off community board because of the way they voted or who they supported. Really, really some egregious stuff. So I'll just say this, I don't know what's going on as far as the borough presidency is concerned. I saw some of the things Vito was doing, which were okay, but I haven't heard him be really vocal about some of the real big problems that we have. And I think that the borough president has a bully pulpit and could have done a lot. But instead of Vito trying to insert his family in to get jobs, I don't know. That's a personal situation. I'm not going to condemn anybody for it. I do condemn Vito for, if you're part of the Republican Party, then you need to, put together as a team. And that's not what he's done. I mean, putting Griffin in at the last minute, that wasn't fair to Griffin. It wasn't fair to the Republicans who had already endorsed Morano. It wasn't fair, most importantly, to the people of the South Shore, who deserve somebody who knows what they're doing and has some experience. And, I love Griffin. Griffin was a good worker. He worked for me on the Katsimatidis campaign. I know him since he's a baby. I don't think he was ready to be a councilman. He hasn't even been involved in the community. So, yeah. Come on, Morano has never been a Republican. He campaigned for Albanese against Nicole. He campaigned for Hanks against the Republican. He campaigned for Gennardis against Marty Goldman. Yeah, you're right. He was always, Frank was always an independent, and he with conservative leanings. So I'm, would I want Griffin Fasella or Frank Morano? I want Frank Morano. Maybe in time, maybe if Griffin had been a part of the community and actually had his hands involved in things, I would say that he could one day make a really good elected official. But basically, he's been living in Brooklyn for the majority of his adult life. So, sorry. Now, Frank Morano has done a lot for Republicans, and he's done a lot for independents and Democrats. But most importantly, Frank has done a lot for the community. And you'll never hear me say a bad word about Frank. He's an upstanding guy. I don't always agree with his politics, but then again, I don't agree with Vito's politics, and I don't always agree with, some of the Debbie Rose's politics and some of the Democrat politics. You can't have everything. Right? You can't, if you're just going to be Curtis is not a Republican. Curtis and Frank are in lockstep with each other. But, I'd rather take somebody who's using common sense than somebody who's going to just carry the banner of the party blindly. I take a real Republican over opportunist. Well, I agree with you. You didn't have a real Republican in the race, right? You had an opportunist in Griffin because he wasn't involved in the community. And then you had Frank Morano, who had been other things until he became a Republican. So, I take the person that's most involved and has done most for the community. That's where I go. And I don't know who the borough presidential candidate is. I honestly don't know. And I, like I said, Vito has done some good things I saw, but I haven't seen him be as vocal as I think he should. But more importantly, Mamdani, Cuomo, Sliwa, where is New York going? And even, let's get out of New York for a minute. The Winsome Sears race, the Ciccarelli race. These are races that are razor, they're really, really close and can be won. The question is, are Republicans going to get out, or conservatives? Let's not even go Republicans, because as I've said here on this show for many, many years, since the beginning, it's not about Republicans anymore, because we've seen that, Republicans are rhinos. It's about conservatives. It's about common sense. It's about people who are patriots and want to make America great. There's an opportunity in both Virginia to keep the Youngkin, keep things on track, as Youngkin got it back on track, and in New Jersey with Ciccarelli. So I hope that you'll encourage patriots and conservative-minded voters, whether they're blanks or Dems or Republicans, to get out to vote. I agree, Curtis isn't a Republican. Unfortunately, our party line has been for sale since Bloomberg. Okay. And I get blamed for that, I'm sure, because I was the one who gave him that line when he ran in 2001. But it made sense. Badillo could not carry the weight. He just couldn't. Someone on Staten Island politics called Sliwa far right racist. Well, that's hysterical. That's hysterical. Jews are endorsing Mamdani. That is nuts. Not many. I think that it was 23% of Jews endorsed Mamdani. That any would is crazy. But we have Republicans that are endorsing, that are supporting Mamdani. I know Republicans that were supporting Adams. I know plenty that are endorsing Cuomo robustly. It just comes down to, how did we get here? Curtis says rightfully that Cuomo and his ilk allowed Mamdani to get in. But the truth is, it was de Blasio. De Blasio was the one that started leaning towards the socialist agenda, helped the Democrats take the Senate, helped the city council turn socialist. But if you ask me, the real culprit in New York is not Cuomo. It's not Mamdani. It's not Bloomberg. It's not de Blasio. It's the Republican leadership in the state. Not since Peter Powers was there have we had strong Republican leadership in the state. Everybody else put our party up for sale. And, our Republican consultants, they're there for the money. They run bullshit candidates who have no chance, but have lots of money. And I know, because, Nicole Maliotakis entered the race in 2017 because Paul, what's his face? His wife was a donor to de Blasio. And it was clear what was going on there. They were Massey. They were just putting Massey up so that de Blasio can win. And Massey was going to, do the matching funds thing, and the consultants were all going to make money. And Mike, if you're still with me, tell me if that was true or not. So we've been selling out this Republican Party in the state for a very long time, very, very long time. And, I think that if you want to, whoever you want to pin the problem to, you need to pin it to Republican leadership. I'll always say, in 2017, when Nicole ran, it was ridiculous how the developers and the builders who were normally would endorse a Republican were going for Nicole, because they had, we're going for de Blasio because they wanted Rikers Island. They wanted their permits passed. Yeah, it was. Yes, I'm sorry. Yes, I do mean Bill Powers. Did I say Peter Powers? I did. Bill Powers, 100% true. He was the last true leader of the state, and I had the pleasure of working with him, and he taught me so much. And I hope that I, to some extent in Staten Island, carried on his legacy. I mean, we ran a Republican when I was the county chair in every single race in Staten Island. That's how it was. There was always a good Republican, not just somebody to put a name on a ballot, a good Republican. But I think that the Republican and the Conservative Party has gotten lazy, and they're only going for seats that they think that they can win. But I don't know. Once they lost the Senate in 2018, that was it for me. I saw it. I saw there wasn't, 2017 was bad enough, but to see what happened in 2018 and how Republicans actually helped de Blasio take the Senate away from the Republicans, now the state is lost. And so is the city council. You were the last real Republican county chair. Well, thank you, Michael Cox. And that's a shame. It really is a shame. But having said that, I'm just saying to people, you can vote on principle, and I get it. You can vote for the lesser of the two evils, and I get it. But if they don't figure out a way, if you don't figure out a way to get the votes away from Mamdani, then you better start figuring a way to get the hell out of New York City, because it's done. And I don't see anybody coming back from it. Some say that Elise Stefanik has a better shot at becoming governor if Mamdani is mayor, because people will see how bad things are. And I think that is laughable. I know that President Trump has said such things, and I think it's laughable. It's absolutely laughable, because New York City has already been going down the socialist path. And Mike is right, since the last term of Bloomberg. And nobody has put the brakes on. Trump just pulled out. Nobody put the brakes on. And, nobody's given a fight to the Democrats. On the contrary, they helped them. So, all right, but that's not why we are here tonight. We're here to talk about why the Democrats are losing their minds over the Trump decision to donate the money to build a ballroom in the White House, because the White House does not have a ballroom. The White House, and if you've been on the tours, and when I took a couple of people on tours, both when I was the chair and then when we were with Elephant in the Room, we went on White House tours, and we were just 30 people, and we couldn't fit in some of the rooms. The place is small. You got to remember, back then people were smaller, and you never had a need to put more than 50 people in a room, because if you did, it was in the Capitol. You didn't do it in the White House because you didn't have the dignitaries coming over, because travel wasn't that easy. You didn't have people coming from all states, into the Capitol often together, because travel wasn't easy. So, we live in modern times, and we are the greatest country on earth. And if I trusted anybody to preserve the historic architecture, but to develop a grand ballroom that the White House deserves, I would trust it to Donald Trump. So let's just hear what he had to say.
Under President Donald Trump, the White House saw its lawn paved with stone tiles, the Oval Office given a golden touch, and now, bulldozers are reshaping the East Wing to make way for a brand new ballroom.
Most excitingly, on the other side, you see the fence and the wall. We're building a world-class ballroom. For 150 years, they've wanted a ballroom here. We don't have a ballroom. We have a little cocktail area, but we don't have a ballroom. The East Room, it's called, is a very small cocktail area. It holds about 88 people if it's tight. And I said, if I do this again, I'm going to get a ballroom built, and we're putting up our own money with the government is paying for nothing. You probably hear the beautiful sound of construction to the back. You hear that sound? Oh, that's music to my ears. I love that sound. Other people don't like it. I love it, Josh. I think when I hear that sound, it reminds me of money. In this case, it reminds me of lack of money because I'm paying for it. So it's the opposite.
So I don't understand how people can act as if he's spending public dollars to do this. He's doing this on his own dime. But Mike rightly says they're going crazy because it's Trump doing it. Trump found the cure for cancer. The left would say he's violating their right to have cancer. You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. You know, the fact is that the White House has been renovated many times. There have been many additions, as I said. When it was originally built, you know, travel was very, very difficult. Here's a 2-minute clip, also from Indian Express and Reuters, telling you all the times that the White House has underwent renovation.
From the iconic Oval Office to the manicured Rose Garden, the White House has long been a symbol of American history and power. But it's also a building in constant evolution. In 1902, President Theodore Roosevelt called on architect Charles McKim to modernize the White House. The Victorian-era conservatories were replaced with the West Wing, offices for the president and staff. The $65,000 project, now equivalent to over $2 million, stirred controversy in Congress and among traditionalists. In 1933, President Franklin D. Roosevelt, battling polio, installed an indoor swimming pool, a private space for therapy that still exists today beneath the press briefing room. Nearly 150 years after the White House was built, President Harry Truman oversaw one of the largest remodels in its history. From 1948 to 1952, the interior was gutted and rebuilt, while the exterior walls remained intact. The project even added a bowling alley, proof that presidential perks come in all shapes and sizes. In the early 1960s, First Lady Jacqueline Kennedy spearheaded a historic restoration. With donations from philanthropists and guidance from expert Henry Francis DuPont, she transformed the interior into a showcase of American art and culture. She also gave the White House its first televised tour in 1962 and restored the iconic Resolute desk. Fast forward to 2009, and President Barack Obama, a basketball enthusiast, converted a tennis court into a dual-purpose sports space, complete with a court for basketball. A simple addition, yet one that reflected his personal touch.
Sounds like you're building another wing to the White House, but we appreciate you keeping your focus.
You can't even imagine, TJ. It's going to happen for the next 2 years. All of the banging, the jackhammering, the dust, the confusion, the noise of all places to do construction is happening right here, the front lawn of the White House.
It's a 4-year renovation project. Estimated cost, $376 million.
And that was courtesy of the taxpayers of America, not donors like Jackie O, but taxpayers of America for President Obama's basketball court. So, you know, they all put their mark on the White House one way or another, and the taxpayers usually pay for it. This time, Trump is doing it at his own cost. They blame him for overpopulation. Yes, they would. You know, so I was thinking when I was cutting these clips, would they have been kinder if Melania oversaw the construction of the ballroom? Because here's the thing, in the tours that we've taken in the White House, they always refer to Jackie O and, oh crap, I think that I might be freezing up. I hope not. I see that my internet is going down. But they refer to Jackie O and what she did to the interior of the White House, and, you know, her beautiful restoration, and they still to this day talk about Jackie O. Now, that was 60 some years ago. So would they have been kinder if it was Melania's project to build the ballroom so that dignitaries could actually have state dinners at the White House? What do you think? I mean, I don't know. Well, while I'm waiting for you to comment, I want to just go back to one of the most vocal critics was Hillary Clinton, who said that it wasn't his house, it's the people's house. And I just wanted to remind everybody, this is easy to find out. You know, Hillary and Bill were accused of, in 2001, the Clintons took nearly $200,000 in gifts they had received during their final year in office. This was in addition to furniture and other items that had been donated for a 1993 redecoration. So, you know, this wasn't stuff that belonged to them, but they claimed that it did. You know, so critics argued that some items from the 1993 redecoration were intended as gifts for the permanent White House collection, not for the Clintons' personal use. Donors made conflicting statements about whether their gifts were for the White House or for the Clintons. Now, this is something that happens all the time. You know, people donate things as new presidents come in. But the Clintons' response was in February 2001. They were facing public pressure, and the Clintons agreed to pay for $86,000 worth of personal gifts. This included gifts of china and flatware, but did not resolve the issue of the donated furniture. A few days later, they announced that they would return the $28,000 worth of household goods, whose ownership was in a dispute, to avoid any questions of impropriety. The National Park Service, which acts as the custodian for the White House donations, accepted the returned furnishings until their status could be determined. So, you know, the thing is, with the Clintons, it's always something, right? They were selling the you could sleep in the Lincoln bedroom if you donated enough money. Then we had the foreign donations to the Clinton Foundation later on when she was Secretary of State. They've been in trouble constantly. But that was the worst, I think, the way they treated the White House as a frat house. And I'm going to say it, a frat house, because they did. It was like a flop house. If you had enough money, you could buy a stay at the White House with the Clintons and hear Bill play saxophone. It wasn't good. Thank you, Colleen. All right, I'm glad for that. They ripped Melania apart from the last Rose Garden revamp. They did do that. I think, though, it would have been, the comparison would have been very hypocritical, you know. I mean, and you know, the other thing that I would have liked is that they would have stopped talking about Jackie O in the future once the ballroom was done, if Melania had headed it up. They're not kind to Melania in the press either. No magazine covers either. No, they're not. She's mad because she won't be able to steal anything from it. Yeah, from the White House. You know, Hillary is just mad. I mean, Hillary doesn't understand that America hates her. She just refuses to get that through her head. She thinks that it's some sort of conspiracy plot against her. But, you know, why would she believe that America hated her? I mean, she thinks she's beloved, and if she doesn't get what she wants, she just gets rid of the people who are saying things or in her way. Gutted said every room was a ballroom. Under Clinton. Oh, yes. Gutfeld said every room was a ballroom under Clinton. I mean, listen, I'm sorry that the Clintons just treated that White House like a flop house, a frat house, a whorehouse. And if anybody disrespected that White House, it was them. So why are they all obsessed with this? Well, because they closed down the government, right? And so what they want to try and do is paint Trump as doing this luxurious renovation on the White House so that he's more comfortable, while people at home are suffering because the government is shut down. And they figure if they can continue to talk about it enough, that people will forget it's the Democrats that shut the government down. And they're also hoping that somehow this will have an impact on the gubernatorial races for Virginia and for New Jersey. They want to try to paint Trump as a king, and this is his dynasty. And they are, you know, the Democrats are out there for the people. But I hope and I think that the people understand that the Democrats are the ones that are causing them pain, especially after this latest vote to pay the essential workers, where the Democrats voted no. And I want to quickly give a shout out to John Fetterman, who has been all over the news talking about how his party is undermining the American people. I just love it. They were like having the Clampetts in the White House. Oh, Michael, that's brilliant. Brilliant. Absolutely. They were like having the Clampetts in the White House. So anyway, that's why they're going crazy. Share the show. Share that clip. That was from the Indian Express, Reuters. You can find it online. And you can find the whole clip. I clipped it into 2 pieces. But let people see that this isn't the only time that the White House has been renovated, and this is being paid for totally with private dollars, not with taxpayer dollars. So once again, we have to keep on talking so that the truth gets out there. So I thank you for joining me on this Sunday. Once again, we've gone over. I will see you tomorrow, definitely. And we're going to talk about some more good stuff, maybe about all the submarines that are being sunk off the coast of Venezuela. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, good night, and thank you for watching Let's Talk News. Please subscribe to the channel, like the video, share it with your friends. Bye-bye.